When passion collides with purpose, and when God's mission crystallizes into a personal mandate, this is what you have. Last in Line podcast. I'd rather so much more people be authentic than fake. Fake floats. Fake's like that gross, crusty surface that floats to the top that nobody wants to consume. We might be a little too honest here. But I appreciate podcast hosts who are in the boat with me. We don't have it all figured out. If you can't serve, you can't lead. We built this podcast on Mark 9:35, where Jesus says, in order to be first, you will be last of all and servant of all. Gentlemen, you're in the right place. Welcome to Last in Line podcast. Hey, I'd like to welcome back again to Last in Line podcast, Mr. Trey Morgan. He and his wife, Lee, founded Stronger Marriage Workshops over 20 years ago. They've been married for over 30 years. They have sons, grandchildren. They are pastors of the local church, and they tour the country all year, multiple years, every week. Well, not every week. Now it's about every other week, once a month, but they're booked out for 3 years conducting these workshops for marriages, and they're super popular. They've got a huge following, almost 750,000 followers on Instagram. They've written several books. One is called A 31-Day Devotional, Wisdom for Your Marriage, and then 10 Ways to a Stronger Marriage. Best-selling books. These workshops are highly sought after, in high demand. Again, sold out for 3 years. That should tell you something, that what they are doing is working. They know what they're talking about. They've got workshops called 15 Ways to Bless Your Marriage, part 1 and 2. Then they've got a Don't Bankrupt Your Marriage, Why Intimacy Matters in Marriage. So we talk a lot about his core principles, 4 foundations of a great home, 10 traits to a healthy family. Talk about faith being the building block, the cornerstone of all of this. Like I said, he's been a pastor for several years, and he and his wife have just devoted their lives to serving other couples. And I think you'll find it interesting what he says about the people who attend his workshops the most, the type of marriage they have. I think you'll find it interesting. But anyway, I digress, and I'm honored to have him back. I consider him a friend. He will be coming to my backyard in January, from what I hear, in the Woodlands, Texas. So I'm going to get to finally meet him in person. This, I believe, is his 3rd time on Last in Line podcast. Help me welcome Mr. Trey Morgan from Stronger Marriages Workshop. Trey Morgan, man, it's good to see you again. Welcome back to Last in Line podcast.
Man, I'm excited to be here. Always enjoy your podcast. Always listen. And what an honor it is to be here hanging out with you today.
I appreciate it, man. You, I guess this might be your 3rd time, if I'm not mistaken. And we usually have a gift. We usually have a gift for those 3rd time people, but I guess I gave you mine on Saturday whenever your Longhorns whipped up on my Sooners. So that's,
hey, I'll take that. That's a pretty good gift.
That's a pretty good gift.
That's a pretty good gift right there. I would take it every year if I could pull that off.
I know it. Well, yeah, we were talking off camera about it's getting to be baseball play, or it is baseball playoffs. It's getting hot and heavy. October's probably one of my more favorite months when it comes to all things sports and weather, and it starts to finally get out of the hundreds here in Texas.
I think you're right. October's a great month for sports, for weather, just for everything. Seasons changing, and it's a good time.
Well, I told you off before we started, you were kind of asking me what direction and I wanted to go with the conversation. And I definitely want to go into some of your wheelhouse, which is Bible, marriage, men. And then it got me thinking, should I open up with the state of manhood in the church right now? And I think I will. And I want to get your take, because I ask a lot of people this question, maybe not everybody, but people who I know aren't afraid to speak their mind, and they really do it from a pretty grounded, sound, level-headed perspective. And I know that you do, man. In your last, I don't know what, 5 or 10 years, let's just say, let's narrow it down to that. Christian men in the church, do you have an assessment of maybe aggregately where you think we are, if you were going to give us a grade, or what, where do you think that stands?
Well, I think we're doing better. I really do. I feel that from what we did, in the early 2000s. We went through a period of time where I think dads weren't big on leading. They didn't know how to lead. They didn't
Hmm.
realize their role that they had or played. I think one of the things that we were really bad about was men drop the ball and don't always lead in the family, and the wife picks that job up and does it, and so we just kind of let them. And I have seen what seems like in the last 5 to 10 years, men willing to take on that God-given responsibility of being more of the leader that God has asked them to be in the home, to not send their kids to church, but to lead their kids to church, not tell their kids they need to read their Bibles, but to show them that they need to read their Bibles and read with them. And I think we're getting there. I do think there's a lot of work left to do. And there's a lot of people that I still think struggle with the balance of, I see men that struggle with the balance of family and spiritual things. We've
Hmm.
got some men out there that are really good at pushing their kids athletically.
Hmm.
Uh, when it comes to hunting and fishing, we want to get them outdoors and teach them how to work and to be a man. And I just go down the list of stuff academically, and we've got some men out there that are really good at, man, I'm going to teach my kid how to hit a ball and catch a ball, and we'll do travel sports. And then they put very little emphasis on the religious spiritual side, and it plays in the long run. It comes out back to kind of bottom in the rear end, because they should have been putting the spiritual things first, instead of being such a good dad at teaching them how to hunt and fish and hit a ball and catch a ball and everything else. And we just need dads to step up and go, hey, I don't know that my kid will ever get a scholarship. They can have fun playing sports, but they will stand before God someday, and it's important that I lead them in that direction.
That's good. Yeah, I fell in that camp too of, man, it'll consume you even if that wasn't your intent. You know, competitive sports, when you think that might be your child's avenue to college, you can make that an idol. And we did, we put that above everything, and we were still teaching, spiritual disciplines and things, and I thought we were pretty much leading by example, but we weren't making it first. Like, it would come on the kind of a side dish to baseball. And so I know where you are, man. And from I would probably definitely do it different. I can speak from somebody who's been past that, and I would do it different. So, yeah. So let me ask you to talk to maybe just this little group of guys that I have on my heart a lot lately. It's similar to the dad you're talking about, maybe not even quite to that level, but just the dudes that are checking boxes, and maybe they're in a Bible study, but it's all their hunting buddy, and they're, they say prayer before dinner, and all these are good things. I'm not knocking guys, but is there another gear, and how do we get that group of guys to, and I might be that sometimes. I'm not saying I've got this figured out, but what do we say to get maybe that spiritually passive guy that thinks he might just be checking boxes for the sake of? What can you say to him maybe to get him to kind of examine in the mirror a little more?
I think the big thing would be the fact that, when you start thinking about, my kids are going to stand before God someday, and most likely, what kind of person they become in values and morals and spirituality is going to fall on me and what I teach them and lead them to. And while I don't mind my kids playing sports, I love sports, and all my boys played sports. I don't want my kids to remember their dad as the guy that showed up at every game, but didn't push them to go to church on Sundays, or to go to youth group on Sundays, or whatever it is. And we as dads have that ability to, take our kids to the golf course and man, this is fun. We're going to spend the day together and we're going to go fishing on Saturday. And then I guess we ought to get up and go to church on Sunday. And you kind of can see the difference between the we're going to go have fun doing this and we're going to go have fun doing this. And I guess we ought to work church in. There's not the excitement there. And
Mhm.
and we as parents, I guarantee you, we love our college sports and our pro sports, and we teach our kids, to say, boomer sooner or hook 'em horns and woo pig suey by the time they're two and they're barely speaking. And they get 10 years old and have
Mhm.
no clue what the Lord's Prayer is. And,
Wow.
we just really sometimes put our emphasis in the wrong place. And I know as dads, and I hate, I'm not trying to beat dads up out there. I know as dads, we're a lot more comfortable in the area of sports and outdoors and things like
Mhm.
this. But we have got to become more comfortable at encouraging our kids spiritually when we see them making good decisions or leading a
Mhm.
prayer at the table. And those are
Mhm.
things that we just got to be as those dads who just say, my kids are going to be gone in a few years, and I have really got to focus on being a spiritual leader. And that's the thing that's going to matter in my home.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's something to consider, and it's all about priorities. And I think guys are good at what they believe matters. I mean, they're good at things that they're good at, and then usually they're good at things that they value. And so, maybe I don't know how we get them to see the big picture in eternity, because we're all trapped in this perspective of here and now, and it's such a small piece of what eternity is going to be. So I think that may be something if we could get dads, and I know that's good for the church body to, the local church steps in and does that. Now, I didn't forget you were a pastor, but I forgot you were still a pastor and doing your uh, stronger marriage workshop stuff. And I know your marriage workshops are booked like at a year at a time, a year in advance. And I don't know how many you're doing, one or two a month, maybe more, but how do you balance those two, man, being a pastor?
Well, it's sometimes it's tough. I only do one weekend workshop a month.
Mm,
And so most of the time I even try to get back on Saturday nights so that I can be at home on Sunday morning, even if I have someone scheduled to speak for me that following Sunday, which a lot of times I do. But we are booked out about 3.5 to 4 years out on weekend events, and so God's really blessed it. He's opened those doors. We feel like obviously we're doing something right with our material and with our workshop if that many people are interested in going and being a part of it. At the same time, we don't want to do that so much that we don't have time to be parents ourselves. Our kids are grown. We do live in the same town with all of our four boys, their wives, our grandchildren. But Sunday mornings we're on the same pew as those guys. And yesterday, which was Sunday morning, I sat on the pew with all of my family, my in-laws, my daughter-in-laws, and my grandkids, and it doesn't get any better than that. And so
mhm,
my job still, even though I have let those kids fly, being over 21 now, and they're doing life on their own, is still to point them and guide them in the right direction, to still be that spiritual leader that says, hey, I can get home on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock and be tired and get up for church on Sunday morning. To us, that's a big deal because that's one of the things that shows that our spiritual life is important. A lot of people say, I love God,
mhm,
and God's number one. But when you look at their life and where they spend their money and where they spend their time and where they spend their efforts, we're spending money on golf lessons,
mhm,
travel ball, and equipment for our kids, and outdoor equipment for hunting and stuff like that. And then
mhm.
we don't invest anything, any time or any money or anything into the spiritual side of it. Our kids see what's really important in our world.
Yeah.
They're not blind, and they see what we really prioritize.
Yeah, I've heard pastors say, "I'll, show me your bank account. I'll show you what you value. Show you what's important." Um, so I guess, and I didn't plan to really go into this, but it kind of got me thinking. You've done this for a while. The marriage workshops, and you're booked out solid. Material is good. Why? If it's not broke, don't fix it. Have you tweaked it at all, or how have you maybe adjusted with the times? I don't know, culturally, has there warranted any pivots with the
Absolutely.
material? Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The workshop we did 10 years ago is nothing like this one today.
Okay.
And 10 years from now, it may be nothing like it is right now. But
Mm-hmm.
so many things have changed in marriage. There's new struggles, new problems that we foresee and kind of look at, and we kind of feel the pulse of kind of what's going on and what do we need to be talking about. And 10 years ago, nobody was talking about things like social media's effect on your
Mm-hmm.
marriage, cell phones effect on your marriage, and screen time effect on your marriage. And so all of those things are like new topics that we cover and spend time discussing, because what we want people to understand is that while I do love my cell phone and it is very handy and very helpful, it also, if I don't use it correctly, it can cause a lot of problems in my marriage and in my family. Even with my kids, the rules that I have for my kids and their cell phones when they were in our home and things like this. So yeah, lots of tweaking. We do multiple workshops. We have a marriage workshop, we have a family workshop, we have an intimacy workshop where we just pretty much talk about the different kinds of intimacy, including sexual intimacy, spiritual intimacy, intellectual, that's where it's conversation, recreational, hanging out together and having fun. And so we do more than just one. It's just our marriage one that's the most popular among people that we do it the most.
Well, I think that's huge because the culture is trying really hard to break up the nuclear family, and where else would he start than the man in the marriage, really, I think. And so, man, thinking about your marriage, how long have you guys been married, you and Lee?
We have been married 37 years. We were high school sweethearts. We married right out of high school, which was legal in the 80s. Today, if my
Sure.
kids came to me at 18 and said, we're getting married, we'd be going, I don't think so. Uh,
Yeah.
80s is a little bit different. We dated for
Mm,
4 years all through high school. We went to
mm,
church together. And as soon as she graduated, we got married and left and went off to seminary or
mm-hmm.
preaching school together. And so we've had some ups and downs, just like every other marriage, but it has been phenomenal. I'm just glad we didn't give up in the tough times
Yeah.
because we have enjoyed some phenomenal marriage in the past 10, 15 years. Uh,
Yeah.
Empty Nest is absolutely incredible. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's just some really, really good stuff that if you hang in there and don't just think marriage disposable, which is the society we live in, is hey, if something doesn't work, you upgrade it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. You fix it. And when you're willing to fix it, then it really, man, you really
Mm.
reap the benefits.
That's a good word, man. I can totally attest to that. We were married. We have been married 30 years as of a couple weeks ago, and
Well done.
our last one is graduating high school this year, and so I kind of know we're a little behind you, and I know what you mean though. It's getting sweeter by the day, but there was a time where if we didn't kind of take our bitter medicine through the hard times, that we wouldn't have that sweet right now. Now, what's the best maybe advice you never got or as an early newlywed? Like what do you wish somebody would have maybe kind of said, "Hey, this might be a blind spot for you, heads up here." Or, "Man, you're going to have the temptation to blank." I don't know. I'll use an example. Always win an argument. That was mine. So what was something that you got maybe never got told that it would have saved you some heartache?
Yeah, two things, if I can give you two.
Yeah.
Early in marriage, I didn't realize that we were really on the same team. It was like you said, so there were times where I thought it was me versus her. And
Mm-hmm.
what I didn't realize was we were actually on the same team. And it wasn't about me versus her and somebody's got to win and somebody got to lose. It took me a long time to figure that out, that when she loses, I lose too, because we're on a team.
Mm-hmm.
And if she wins and I win, we all win. So yeah, that was a struggle. And when I finally got past the point of feeling like, one, I have to do everything my way. Two, everything has to be my opinion. And started realizing, hey, we're a partnership and a team, and what's good for my partner is good for me. And so that was a huge blessing. I did not have to be right all the time. We didn't have to agree all the time. We still have things
Mm-hmm.
we choose to disagree on that we kind of see from a different a viewpoint, but that was one of the big things earlier in marriage. Probably the big thing later in marriage in the past 10, 15 years that we both talk about has blessed us is I don't know if we picked it up or what, but we started about 15 years ago trying to go to bed together at the same time. And I know that sounds weird, but Lee's a night owl. I'm a early to bed guy. And a lot of people will go, hey, how do you do that if I don't want to go to bed when they want to go to bed?
Hmm.
Well, about 15 years ago, we started trying to go to bed at the same time together. And not right when we were like, I'm exhausted, I'm going to sleep. A little early where we would have 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes in bed together where we could just talk, where we could talk about our calendars. Every night we go through what's on our schedule for tomorrow, what's on our schedule for this week. We could pray together. We can be intimate. We did not just jump in bed and start scrolling through our phones. And so in the last 15 years, one of the biggest blessings we've had, and we do this uh, probably 100% of the time, is we try every night to go to bed at the same time. Now, me being an early guy, there are nights where after we visit and pray together or whatever it is that we're doing, I'll tell her I'm going to go to sleep now, and she'll drag out a book and read. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll wake up 2 hours later and she's got her little book light over there and she's finishing a chapter because she's not a early bed girl. Or there's times where after I'm asleep, she gets up and she'll go work on laundry for a while. But we go to bed together every night, and that has been such a blessing. And we talk about that in our workshop a little bit. And the crazy thing is we hear couples all the time that send us a message or just reach out to us and go, hey, this bed together at the same time, we didn't realize what we were missing. And we were like, we didn't either. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Glad y'all are checking it out. But yeah, if you got different
Cool.
shifts that you work, we get that. But
Yeah.
if you put a little effort into it, it's amazing the just some one-on-one time that you get at bedtime for about
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes every night. It's just such a blessing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I kind of get that. My wife will stay up a little longer than I will because once I'm horizontal, man, I'm gone. It doesn't take me long, but
Same way. I'm the
um,
same way, but I try really hard. If we're
yeah,
visiting, I'm going to keep my eyes open and we're going to talk and that sort of
that's
thing.
right. That's right. Well, we were talking about guys earlier and kind of how, we like to do the things we're good at and things we can sort of quantify the scoreboard on. I mean, what is evidence that a marriage is done well? I mean, is it just that you stayed together through the thick and thin and you survived, or like what's a way to quantify the fruit of all these years? And is it just that we don't fight anymore, or we have sex once a week? Like I don't what's the scoreboard look like?
Sure. Well, I do think that long marriages doesn't mean you have a happy marriage. And so
Hmm.
I want to quantify the fact that we've met some couples, especially in the past, that may have been married for 60 years and they've been miserable. And I hate that,
Gosh.
who nobody wants 60 miserable years. So I don't know that that always quantifies things, but I do think that there is some legitimacy to the fact that we've been in
Hmm.
marriage this long. I think personally for us that when we're talking about what signifies a healthy marriage, when you want to spend time with your spouse, when you look forward to it, when you think to yourself, I cannot wait till Friday, we have a day off together and we get to spend the day together. When we personally are going to a workshop, we may have a 5 hour drive to get there, and I'm excited about literally being locked in the car with my wife for 5 hours because it's just our time that we get to hang out and spend some time together. And I think one of the big indicators, if you like your spouse and you just love spending time with them, that's one of the big indicators that things are really, really good. Instead of going, you know, there's some people that'll go, I guess I need to spend some time with my wife or something, or my
Hmm.
husband or whatever it is. But I think when you just are excited about spending time together, I also think you mentioned it. I think intimacy is a big deal.
Hmm.
Um, there are people that can live together. They can be married. They can live together and share a house together and pay bills together and raise kids together. And if there's no intimacy, something's lacking there. And that may
Hmm.
not be just sexual intimacy, but I mean, if you're not holding hands and if you're not kissing and if you're not, dancing in the living room to your favorite song, we personally, my wife and I have said many times, we don't want to be roommates. We
Mm.
don't want to just share a house together. We want to have a connection. We want to be soulmates and have that connecting intimacy in there where people can look at us and go, there's something between those two right there.
That's good. No, I agree. I wonder too. I mean, people say all the time, well, we just grew apart or we just fell out of love. And man, I just, that may feel like it's true, but I just don't know that I believe it or buy into it. And if I do, I would say y'all need to look in the mirror because y'all created that. It wasn't the other person or the other person. It was you that had a part in some of that. And so, what about so if and I know date night is a big thing. Like you got to make it happen. You got to be intentional, calendar, schedule. But the like part, you mentioned that, and I want to touch on that for a second. How do people kind of if their interests change, if they feel like maybe their worldviews changed a little bit when it comes to certain things. Maybe they still stand on the Bible but together, but man, what if they don't like the other one as much as they used to? Like what would you attribute that to, or what could they do to maybe find that again?
Well, it is. I don't believe that you can fall out of love because biblically, love is an
Right.
action, not a. So you can choose not to love your spouse, but you
Yeah.
can't fall out of love. Um, but you can fall out of friendship. And a lot of couples that come going, we don't feel the connection anymore. They
Yeah.
have fallen out of friendship. They fell in love. They were best friends. They spent tons of time together. And after they get married, you got hobbies, jobs, kids, little league, all these things show up, and you're not doing date night, you're not getting quality time, you're not talking every day, and then you start feeling like we're just sharing a home,
Mhm.
we're just raising kids together and paying bills together, and that's because you're gonna have to spend some time together. You're gonna have some quality time. A lot of folks don't like that word date night. It doesn't
Yeah.
bother us, but it's about quality time. You've got to find
Mm.
some time to spend. Quality time is not binge watching a movie series together. It is actually spending time doing something together. Common interests. You've got to have common interests in marriage. That's a connection because that's also a talking point.
Mhm.
I have tried hard to try the things my wife likes so we can have common interests there. She has worked hard to try the things that I'm interested in so that we can have common interests there. And we have found some really big common interests. Now there's some things Lee does, and I'm like, that's all you, babe. Hey, you can have it. There's some things I do that she goes, that's all you. You can have it. But when it comes to common interest, there's a lot of things we like to do together that started out as this was just me or this was just her because we've learned to like that. And then it gives us things to talk about.
Mhm.
Lee tried baseball and watching baseball. We're big baseball fans and we love going to baseball parks. We love watching the Texas Rangers play ball. Every night we play ball or we watch baseball when it's on TV. And so driving down the road on them 5 hour trips, sometimes we'll spend an hour and a half talking baseball, and who's batting in the two hole for the Mariners or the Yankees or the Rangers. And to have a wife that talks baseball is phenomenal. It just
That's
blows me away.
hilarious.
Or we talk. Sometimes we'll talk. I love to ask her about, hey, I'm preaching on this on Sunday. Let me give you my points and kind of where I'm going, and you tell me if there's something I need to add to that. And so that gives us spiritual discussion. And so when you can have common interests, it's just amazing at what you can do.
Yep, yep. And it takes some give and take too. I mean, it's not going to automatically line up to exactly what you want to do. That's what I think my advice to guys would be like, try something that you think would be outside of your comfort zone because chances of you guys aligning perfectly on your interests are slim. I mean,
I've done
take
that.
baseball. Take baseball, right? Because she probably had to think, all right, I'll try it. Like that wasn't probably naturally going to be something she wanted to just, woohoo, let's watch a whole baseball game. So she
Exactly.
probably made an effort, right?
She put out an effort, and there's been more than that she's put an effort out in. And to me, when she's willing to put out an effort into the things I like, and she's found several things that are big to me that she's willing to do because she likes them now too, that I have to also at the same time do the same. So
Hmm.
I will admit with you, I watch all the HGTV shows with her. We record different shows. I know who all the players are. We've gone to Waco to see the
Yeah.
Buffaloes, because that's big to her. And I would rather personally us do that together than her to go, I'd rather not go with my husband. I'll go with somebody else.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of things she does now that I have learned to like, because if she's interested in that, that gives us things to have
That's
conversation about.
good. That's good, man.
A healthy
That's meeting in the middle right there.
it is, and I can't expect her to just like things that I like to do and me not put some effort into doing some things that she likes to do. Several years
Yeah.
ago, she asked me, it was her birthday, and I said, "You want me to take you somewhere?" She said, "Yes, I'd love to go to Canton, Texas." And in my head, I remember thinking, "Sounds good. Let's go. What's in Canton, Texas?" I asked her that, and she said, "I love flea markets, and this is the biggest flea market in Texas, and we
Hmm.
want to be able to see all of it in a whole weekend." And I remember in my head thinking, I didn't say it, I just thought it. So there is hell on earth, and it's obviously in Canton, Texas, because that's the last thing I want to go do. And but I went with a good attitude. I decided I'm going to make this fun. And we had a blast hanging out together and spending time in Canton, Texas, flea marketing. I learned the things that she likes, the things she's interested. I learned that there were some things that I had fun looking at.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things that, if you just walked up and said, "Hey, you want to go to the flea market with your wife?" I'd be going, "No."
Yeah.
I had to try it. And now it's kind of like I look forward to when we get to take off and do that again sometimes.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah, I can relate a little bit. We do some things similar, but not flea market, but I think we do want to go to Canton. I am kind of intrigued by that. I hear all of our friends go. But anyway,
Some really cool
um,
stuff down there. They're really
oh
good.
yeah. Oh
Just
yeah.
don't go in June. That's what we did. That was our mistake because it was stinking hot.
Don't do that. Don't do
Yeah.
that. Well, okay, so when you think about expectations in a marriage and I mean there's obvious expectations when you go into a marriage, and then as people change and grow older or grow together, then the expectations may change as well. So maybe guys, speak to guys about what is a realistic expectation when it comes to um, differences in how we communicate. Like what maybe talk to about communication for a second, because guys, like you said, want to win the argument, or maybe it doesn't have to turn into an argument. How can we prevent that? But I think it starts in what we expect from or the outcome we can visualize. Like is there value in simulating how we want this to turn out with the end in mind kind of thing? It's a bad way to
Yeah.
ask the question, but
Yeah.
talk to me
That's a
about
great question.
communication.
That's a great question. That's one. Okay. So as we just talked, communication is one of the things that's very important to Lee. And so my wife wants me to communicate. Sometimes she wants me to communicate about things that I don't really think are all that interesting to communicate with, but it is her way to connect with me. It is a
Mm.
bid for connection. When I walk in the door in a little while, she's going to say, "How was your day?" I'll say it was good. She's going to ask, "What did you do today?" And instead of saying nothing, I will give her all the details of all the things I've done today. To me, that's the most boring thing in the world because it has not been all that exciting, but that makes her happy. Does that make sense?
Mm.
She loves because it makes her feel like she was a part of my day when I fill her in on what I did today. So one of the things that men don't understand sometimes is that connecting with her intellectually and through communication helps her to connect to me in many other ways. Oftentimes, to me, when we start talking sex, sex is the way most men, including me, feel connected to their wife. And
Hmm.
so I'm the guy that goes, "Hey, I want to feel connected to you." And that's going to come sexually. But for my wife and for most women, they say, "I want to be able to feel connected to you before I have sex." That includes things like conversation and spending time together and doing things that she finds interesting. And so I'm more than happy to give those things because she feels like she needs to connect with me through conversation in order for her to feel like, "Hey, I really would like to connect sexually now." So you just kind of have to understand men and women are wired up really, really different. And when you begin to find that, "Hey, I don't have to understand why my wife wants to do things a certain way, but if that is important to her, we're a team, then that should also be important to me at the same time." If my
Yeah.
wife wants to know my crazy details of my day because that's important to her, even though it's not important to me, if that's important to her, it is important to me, and I'm more than happy to give that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure you guys teach on communication a lot because I think you could go to any marriage seminar and probably hear that word a lot. And so I think, and I heard somebody say, it might have been on the podcast here, there might be a difference in connection and communication. We can communicate about everybody's schedule for the next week, but that's not a connection. So,
Right.
what would you say your if I was to ask Lee what makes Trey a good connector, not just communicator, what do you think she would say? What does she like most about your connection style?
Well, I think Lee would say that I do a good job at seeing her bids for connection. When she wants me to connect, I try to do that. For example, if I'm sitting there and she goes, "Hey, look at this picture of this room and how they've decorated it for Christmas." If I just kind of go, "Yeah, in a minute," or send it to me when I get time to look. But if I'll take a second and go look at that bid for connection that she's made and go, that is really cool. I love that. I like what they did with such and such. She feels connected to me. And I
Mm.
try really hard to catch those bids for connection where she is asking something or wanting me to want to tell me something that happened in her day. And I'm not sitting here with this trying to text my kids at the same time. If I'll make eye contact with her, and I'm not always good at that, but if I'll make eye contact with her and listen, that's what she's really wanting me to do is just listening to what she's got to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and that doesn't sound too hard. I mean, I know guys,
It doesn't, but as guys,
we can
sometimes
be one track minded, and if we're
I
fixed on
know,
something, man, any
I know,
diversion could really throw us for a
oh,
loop.
I
So
know.
no, what I hear you say is just is be aware and
Yes.
then be I would say obedient to the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit's going to lead you there to say, look, if you want to have a good marriage or you want your night to end well, like it needs to be a two-way street. And I think I've gotten into some, you know, awkward, weird endings to evenings that I did wasn't real thrilled with, probably because I wasn't as engaged or attentive. And that was all selfishness, right? Or laziness. And so, I mean, I don't know, guys expect all this stuff from their wife, but then they don't expect anything from themselves, right? To give to
Yeah.
that relationship. So it sounds like to me you've eased toward the middle of the road, maybe even a little over the middle of the road toward her side on stuff you don't really aren't super thrilled to
Yeah.
just run out and do, but I think you get it, right?
There's an old phrase. Let me throw this out because you hit on it, and I think men need to be reminded of this. There's an old phrase that sex starts in the kitchen, and what that
Mm.
means is
Hmm.
she wants you to pursue her in other rooms than just in the bedroom. She wants you to pursue her other ways than just sexually. So that pursuit comes through conversation, where you've listened to her that day, through doing little things throughout the day to check in, send a text message, a volunteer. What can I do to can I do the dishes tonight? You fix supper. What can I do to help around the house? Whatever it is, where you're pursuing outside the bedroom. And
Hmm.
what a lot of women really find frustrating is the only time my husband wants to connect with me is at 9 o'clock at night when it's time for him to want to be sexual. And she's like, why can't he, earlier in the day have a conversation with me or go on a walk with me or whatever it is? And so, really, men who figure it out and do it right are those men who spend the day connecting with your wife, sowing the seeds of love, if you want to put it that way, not waiting until 9 o'clock tonight to do it, but starting that morning, maybe fixing her coffee for her, leaving a sweet note for her, sending a sweet text message, whatever it is, holding her hand, just all throughout the day, so that at 9 o'clock, she's already felt pursued all day long and that you've been sweet to her and done nice things for her instead of all of a sudden you just show up at 9 o'clock going, "Hey, let's talk about making
Yeah.
love," you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder as you're saying that, I'm thinking, is that kind of the main dysfunction in men as a husband? Is that kind of where we miss it? Is that a common thread that
It
guys
is.
are
It
sort
is.
of more in that
It is.
sexual connection is the only way they is that, or is there something,
Because
is
that's
there,
how
is
we
there,
connect.
yeah, yeah,
To
yeah.
and my wife will tell you, and she understands it at the same time. My wife will tell you that I like to connect regularly sexually with my husband because then he feels very connected to me and he's more willing to talk with me, to serve
Hmm.
me, love me
Yeah.
throughout the day. So it's almost kind of like a give and
Yeah.
take on both sides. And so
Yeah.
you can't just, you've got to understand it from both sides. But a lot of men are task oriented, and we feel like sometimes, hey, I worked hard to win her. We got married. She's my wife now. So why do I still need to send flowers? Why do I still need to plan the dates? Because he planned the dates before marriage. Now he's kind of like, just let me know when we're going and I'll make sure
Hmm.
I'm ready. And
Yeah.
he's like, why do I still need to be doing all those things? She's my wife now. It's because she fell in love with a guy who pursued her and she
Hmm.
still wants to be married to that same guy. You don't just check it off and go, I've officially won her and I
Yeah.
don't have to do anything anymore. I had a guy the other day on social media that reached out and he said, I really thought 8 years into marriage, I wouldn't still have to be doing these things like flowers and holding hands. And I said, dude, if you make 80 years of marriage, you're still going to be have to do those things because that's the way God wired her up.
Mm.
She fell in love with a guy who pursued her, and she still wants to be married to that same guy. And if you sent flowers before marriage and you held her hand before marriage and you planned the dates before marriage, she still wants you to do those things after you're married.
Yeah. No, it is. It's an ongoing. I mean, guys, a lot of guys that I know, I mean, they're accustomed to pursuing that 8 point, and then once
Yeah,
you get that
they're
eight
done.
point, it's on the wall, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
so
exactly right. But that relationship is dead. Does that make sense?
that's right, 100%.
Your marriage isn't dead. Now it will be if you don't pursue her. But
That's right.
that relationship with that deer is done.
Yeah,
You've won it, you've done it. But that's not marriage. Marriage, you
that's
got to
right.
pursue going.
That's right. Yeah. Is there, so the guys that you work with primarily, and what you see kind of up close, is there some major red flags that are tripping guys up now? I mean, we hear about obviously inappropriate conversations either on social media or at the water cooler at work with the opposite sex, or addictions to something. Like, is there something that's tripping guys up, and maybe what's your caution to guys, maybe even if it isn't tripping them up, but what's your caution to men in general is to kind of be watching your blind spots?
Yeah. My main thing I would say to men is don't be the guy that waits until the very end to say, all right, I'm willing to work on my marriage now. I meet those
Mm,
guys all the time that reach out and they go, hey, um, my marriage is kind of in shambles and I'm needing some help and I want to fix it. And my wife isn't even trying. And then we find out she's been asking for 3 or 4 years, can we do something to better our marriage? Can we see counseling? Can we go to a marriage workshop? Can we read a marriage book? And for those years, he's been saying, hey, if you just, it's on, if you'll just drop it, you're the one causing this by bringing this up all the time, or nothing's wrong with my, and they literally wait until their little marriage rowboat is at the waterfall and she's dropped her oar and packed her bag and she says, I'm out. And then all of a sudden that guy goes, okay, I'm ready to go to work now. She's not even trying over here. And I'm like, dude, you needed to be doing this a year ago. Don't wait until the end because the longer you wait, the harder it is to fix it. And that's, and I see that all. I had a guy reach out the other day and he said, I need help. And I said, what do we got? Let's go to work. And he said, my wife has filed the papers and signed the papers and said, I am not to talk to her anymore. And I said, what do you expect me to do to help on this? And he said, well, can't you save a marriage when it's at this state? And I said, I don't know anybody that can when she's filed papers and said, don't talk to me anymore. And he said, I know there's people out there that can save a marriage at this point. And I said, please let me know if you find them because I have some other people I need to send that way. And I checked back in with him about a month later and he said, yep, there's nobody out there that can save one this late. And my point to the men out there is don't be the guy that waits till the end. If work on your marriage all the time, not just when it's really, really hard, and there'll be a whole lot less really, really hard moments.
yeah, man. Yeah, that's a timely message
Do
because I
that,
think
do
they're,
that maintenance. Men
yeah,
men maintain their cars, they maintain their homes.
yeah.
Well, why don't we maintain our marriage? Go to the marriage workshop, read the marriage book, go on the dates. That's all maintenance. It's healthy for your marriage.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, trying to think of an analogy, but all I can think of is football right now. But like in the, when teams are down 20, 30 points, they start airing it out and they start getting creative with their offense and they start moving the ball and they start scoring.
Yeah.
But it's too late, right? There's a minute left. You're down 30 points. Like, why didn't you do this in the first quarter? Like, so I get it. I mean, guys are just, I guess, procrastinators, or we're in
Pride,
denial.
pride is a big
Or
thing.
we're in denial. We think, it's not as bad as she's making it. She's being overly
Exactly.
emotional. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And we don't want to ask for help. We don't want, if we went to a marriage retreat or a marriage workshop, we don't want folks to think, well, what's wrong with them? And so guys are prideful and we just pretend like nothing's going on. And I'll tell you what, interesting thing here, I'll point out. Um, Probably 90% of the couples that come to our marriage workshops are couples with really healthy marriages, not couples that are struggling. And that tells me that these couples know if I want to keep a really good, strong, healthy marriage, I'm going to keep working on it even when things are going good.
That's a
Because we
great
get people all the
point.
time that go, well, we came to your workshop and everybody was going, are y'all having marriage problems? And just because you go to a workshop and do some work on your marriage doesn't mean your marriage is bad.
It's a great point. That is a great, and I bet you've had people come multiple times, like the
Oh,
same couples. Yeah,
we've had,
repeat. Yeah,
yeah. Sometimes we want to tell couples, y'all get up here and y'all just do it for us because
teach
they've
us.
come
Yeah,
multiple times, and we just love the fact that couples are willing to go, hey, we just want a better marriage.
that's really good. And I'm, you've got sons who are married, and so that is trickling down, and all the seeds that you've planted, of course, are everything's starting to harvest. And I wanted to maybe finish with something kind of fun here. I think I've had I don't do this with everybody, but I love having you on, and so I wanted to maybe you could finish these sentences for me. I'm going to give you a little sentence that's incomplete, and I want you to finish it. You take it wherever you want to go. I
Okay.
mean, along the lines of spirituality, marriage, parenting, manhood, whatever. And it's a lot of it's pretty general, so it's going to need a little imagination. But here you go. Let's start with an easy one. It's never too late to.
Improve your marriage.
All right, use another one. We just said that one.
All
Sorry.
right. Sorry.
I led you right into that one. No,
You
I
did.
did that
That's
to
just the
you.
one that came to
That's my
mind.
fault.
It's never too late to change, to make a change, a good change, a healthy change,
Yeah.
unless you're on your deathbed. Yeah, whether it's your health, your diet, your exercise. Today's a good day to make that change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder too, guys probably think it's too late, it's too late. I've done the damage is done, and maybe I can't. But they probably there is hope, especially if they're believers. Like I
Yeah,
would imagine a lot of the people that come to your workshops are believers. I don't know. Is that a fair assessment? Okay.
yeah. Most of them are. There's a lot of unchurched people who believe in God and are just kind
Yeah.
of looking. But
Yeah.
it's never too late to reach out to God. Never
Yeah.
too late to reach out to God.
Yeah. Okay, let's do another one. Your marriage can heal if.
You're willing to forgive and put in the work. Because one, forgiveness is big, and two, put in the work means if your marriage is healing, somebody's done something, um, and you got to put in some work, especially if you're the person that maybe caused the damage. The work can get done. You're going to need some time, but forgiveness, put in the work, and give it some time.
Yeah, that's a
We
good
I've
word,
seen
man.
some great marriages that were on the brink of divorce because of terrible things that have come back so strong because both people were willing to put in the work.
That's right. Yeah, injuries, right? You got to have rehab. It's not an overnight. You're not back on the field after a
That's a good
torn
point.
ACL, right?
That's a good point.
All right. So, how about this one? The key to being a better listener is.
Eye contact for me. It is eye contact.
Mm,
I have to literally, I have to stare at my wife's eyes. There are times where I'm thinking, this is a long story and I'm just still looking. Listen, keep looking because man, if I'm this way or look down at my phone or look at a watch, man, I can take off and go any direction because I'm a little ADD sometimes, squirrel, but
yeah,
contact, man, eye contact, and I will stare her down and look in her eyes.
that's good. I, Man, you got me going off, my mind going off in another direction now. I'm going to derail us for a sec. Can you give us an example of where maybe you did something similar to, like, you kind of, your attention was, and you had to kind of recover, like, because everything you're telling me makes everybody listening think, okay, Trey and Lee are just like flawless marriage individual, flawless husband, flawless wife, like nothing. Give me an example of where you kind of rallied in a, maybe a disagreement or a rough time where you were like, okay, I kind of got us back to, I kind of glued us back together because of whatever you did. I don't know. That's a bad way to put it, but you know what I mean? Like you rebounded the ball well and you kind of shanked
Well,
one.
I'm a guy who does things quickly. I believe that I can multitask in several ways, including listening to my wife and doing something else at the same time. And I have failed miserably at times. For example, there was a time several years ago that my wife was telling me something, and I was listening. I was looking at her in her eyes, but one of my kids texted me a simple question, and I grabbed my phone and I just hit yes and looked up to see what, her still talking. And she made the comment of something like, "You didn't hear anything I just said, did you?" And I remember in my head thinking, that's a weird way to start a conversation, which means I didn't hear anything she just said. I mean, nothing. I was gone. And of course that kind of set her off, which it should have, because she was trying to explain something to me and I was sending my kid a text and I was trying to go, "Hey, but babe, so and so was just asking me a simple question." And I have learned that when my wife is talking, when she comes in the room and she's needing to tell me something, I take my phone or my laptop and I either put it down, but I'm going to look at her and I'm not going to be distracted because them squirrels can get me every
Yeah.
time. And that's something I've had to learn. I can't multitask as well as I thought I could.
Well, real time in that very situation, that some marriages that could have turned into something.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did
And
you keep
so it
that from
was
turning
a
into
little
something?
tense. I mean,
Yeah.
she
How
was
did
a little put
you?
out with me. And it
Okay.
was honestly, it wasn't
Yeah.
like it was 911. I
Right.
could have
Right.
waited for 10 minutes. I just thought, oh, this will only take me a second to answer and then get back to her.
Yeah.
And no, my mind immediately shut her off. You can't pause your wife and
Yeah.
focus this and then unpause. And I was reminded of that day because she had every right to be put out at me for giving someone else that bid for connection she was making,
Yeah.
to for me to talk to her. I sent it a different direction.
Well,
It
you
didn't
saved
really
it.
set
Sounds like
off.
you saved the situation though, and probably rebounded the ball pretty well in that moment because it could have gone
I
one
tried
of two
really hard and
ways.
I apologized.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't make an excuse. I didn't say, "I am
Yeah.
sorry, but,
Right.
that's
Right.
our son." I didn't say, "I'm sorry, but,"
Yeah.
uh, I just said, "I screwed up. I will do better." And then I worked hard to do better.
That's good. That's perfect. That's perfect. All right. Let me give you maybe a couple more here. The best way to determine, let's see, best way to determine if meeting a need. Nah, let's skip that one. Let's go to this one. Okay. How about this one? Okay, here we go. The best way to have a thriving marriage in retirement is,
Common interests, just
yeah.
finding things that you can do together. I would say empty nest, not just retirement, empty
Yeah,
nest.
yeah.
Lee and I have tried, those common interests are important. We have tried Top Golf. Neither one of us play golf, but we've tried Top Golf together. We're
Mm.
just looking for new ways of things that, oh, that was fun. Let's do it again. We've gone bowling. That's something we hadn't done in 20 years. We've played putt putt. We're constantly looking for new ways to connect that will give us more common interests, which then in turn will give us more things to talk about. And
Yeah.
so we're always looking for new ways to connect, new things. Okay, I'll throw this out here, and there's not a lot. You guys are going to learn this before anybody else does. We've started taking dancing lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
not a dancer. I'm a big white guy that has no moves. And we've started taking some dance lessons together, and it's been a lot of fun.
Mm.
And so we've been doing some dance lessons, because it's something new. It's something we both enjoy. And when we go on things like cruise ships for marriage workshops and different things, we're not quite so lost. And so that's been a new thing we've been trying to do together. And I hadn't told anybody that. So you guys are
That's
getting the scoop.
good.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good, man. My wife has pitched that idea in the past, and we haven't done it yet. And I that might need to be one of those things that I just kind of bite the bullet on and try,
Yeah,
because I'm
that's
not a
me.
big
That's
dancer
me.
either.
I didn't want to either, but for Christmas I gave her five dance lessons on a gift card at a place, and we have cashed in, and we've learned salsa, we've learned two step, we've learned several of those things, which has been a lot of fun to
That's
just
cool.
laugh together,
Yeah.
some other things. So it's been
I
really
think
good.
it's important. I mean, I think it's important to be kids again together. I
I
mean,
agree.
we were kids, and how much fun did we have then? So yeah, I think maybe there's something to be said for kind of going back in time a little bit and trying to have
Common
fun with your
interests and
laugh a lot with your wife.
you got to have some common interests when you hit empty nest because you're going to be spending a lot of time together and
Yeah,
retirement. You better have some things you like to do together.
that's right. Well, all right, as we end, man, I maybe give me something that you encouragement or like a prayer for marriages out there right now. Like, what's the burden you're carrying for married couples right now that you're praying over us as a group of people?
I spoke yesterday in a sermon that I did and talked about the importance of appreciation, and families need that today. Kids need to give it to parents, parents need to give it to kids, and especially spouses need to give it to one another. And that's where even the things that your spouse is supposed to do and you expect them to do, you still stop and thank them for doing it. You give them appreciation for the things that they are doing, and you tell them, thank you for doing this, whatever it is. And I think if husbands and wives would become more thankful. Thank you for providing for our family. Thank you for cooking a meal tonight. Thank you for doing my laundry or for mowing the lawn, whatever it is. A spouse who feels appreciated will always do more than the spouse that feels like they're being taken for granted. So,
Yeah.
if your wife, since we're talking to men, if your wife is putting your laundry up or doing your laundry or cooking a meal or whatever your wife is doing, you should regularly be going out of your way to say, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that very, very much, even if they've done it for 37 years of marriage.
Mm, that can't be overstated. I'm glad you finished with that. What website can we go get your resources and maybe sign up
Uh,
for one in
yeah,
2030,
TreyandLee.com.
I guess?
Yeah, TreyandLee.com,
Okay.
TreyAndLea.com. You can find our social media sites. We have about 1 million followers on Instagram, Facebook, X now instead of Twitter. We have a podcast where you can hear a lot of the material that we do in our workshops on our podcast. It's also at TreyandLee.com.
Okay.
You can see our upcoming, probably next 15 workshops is listed on there, where there'll be, most of our workshops are free. That's the cool thing. A lot of couples don't realize that. We
Wow.
ask the host churches that are hosting us, we generally say, will you cover all our expenses so that you can provide this to couples for free? And so most of our
Wow.
workshops, you don't have to spend money. Now, we do have one coming up in February. It is a special Valentine's weekend, getaway weekend in Dallas. We'll be talking marriage and intimacy. Come stay in a hotel with us. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of getaways. That one costs a little bit of money because you're going to have to provide a
Yeah.
room, and we have to take a little bit of a fee to cover the conference room. But most of the 98% of our workshops are free. So you
Yeah.
just get there.
That's awesome, man. It's great work, dude. Great ministry. Much, much needed. Because if we can keep the nuclear family together and built on godly principles, man, we can take back this country. So
Yeah.
I appreciate being on here. He's been the one and only Trey Morgan. We've been last in line. Be blessed.